First of all, Jordan and Carmeria, thank you for the opportunity of the interview with our magazine, with our Metaltrip. Thank you very much for the time in Australia that you will be at night, I suppose. Um, well, um, um, Thank you very much for your latest album, Tragédie D'amour, because I heard it entirely, and I guess we have the best romantic and gothic metal album of the year.
Oh wow, that's a huge compliment. Thanks so much, dude, and thanks so much for having me as well. It's always great to chat to people about the album, and I really appreciate your time. Um, what time is it over there, by the way? Because over here it's about 10 o'clock at night.
Now here is two o'clock. Is the is the lunch? Sorry, the
Yeah.
lunch time.
Wonderful. Awesome. Early afternoon. Oh, that's good. That works well. I'm a bit of a night owl, so I'm quite happy to do the sort of late night interviews. So but yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks so much for the compliment on the new album. I think I actually read a review that you guys did not too long ago, and if it's the one I'm thinking of, I absolutely loved it. It was so beautifully written. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. I enjoyed the album very much. I didn't hear songs like in this album in long time before
Yeah.
before pandemia, because I am a big fan of gothic and symphonic metal. In Europe it's the same, Levi's, Epica, Nightwish, but in Australia, I don't know any bands. And when I heard Carmeria, I say,
Mhm.
oh, this is another world. Well, another world in Australia, very different from Europe or America or Asia.
Yeah. And it is quite rare, I guess, to be doing this genre in this part of the world. We do have a lot of or a few great bands doing it that we've made friends with, and we've got sort of like a little community down here. But I suppose it's certainly not as prevalent as it would be in parts of Europe or America. But yeah, no, thanks for acknowledging that, because yeah, it can be pretty tough down here with this kind of music.
Mhm. Well, with this, Jordan, we begin the interview. We won't
Mhm.
take much of your time at night in Australia. First of all, how is the public reception of your latest album, Tragedy D'amour? What do people usually think about this album recently in the world?
Yeah, so it's been a really positive response. It's been really exciting to see. A lot of people have reached out to us talking about how much they enjoy the songs. We've had a bunch of reviews sort of all over the world. That's been fantastic to see, of people commending the album. We were quite, I suppose you could say, a little nervous about going into this release, because this was something that we hadn't really done before. Our previous album at Van A was very much, I suppose, your classic symphonic metal record, and so to be bringing in a lot more gothic rock elements and leaving out some more of the metal stuff, we weren't really sure how people were going to react to it. But the reception has been really good. We have had a few publications, I guess, questioning the direction, and we have had a couple of reviews from people that haven't really got it. But overall, the majority of the responses have been fantastic, and that's been so wonderful to see, because yeah, as I said, we had a few nerves going into this release, so to have that response has been great.
Mhm. What was the creation and composition of the latest album like? Is it based on a true history? is the sensation that we have when we heard the album?
Yeah, so a lot of my writing is quite personal. I draw a lot from my own experiences and emotions, particularly when crafting the lyrics, and also this time around when crafting the music. So the creative process for this was pretty straightforward. I mean, we have sort of done our best to upskill, like all of the members in the band, upskill the areas in their own areas, so we can try and be as much of a sort of do-it-yourself band as possible. So I tend to handle the bulk of the songwriting, and I now produce as well. Jerry and Mish are very good at the sort of marketing and behind-the-scenes stuff. Mish also does, a lot of videography, so that certainly helps with creating content and stuff, and all the things that you need to do in this day and age. But I had quite a strong vision of where I wanted to take this album a few years ago, and I remember putting together a bit of a pitch and taking it to the band, and they were all quite on board with it. It was, wanting to, I suppose, stretch myself as a songwriter, push myself out of my comfort zone, going into that more, writing that more high energetic gothic rock, as opposed to the symphonic metal stuff that I kind of got a bit used to during our first album. So going into this, it was a lot more straightforward than the first album. The first album took us about 6 years to put together, because we had so many lineup changes, and there was a lot of talks around which direction we wanted to go, and there was just a lot of obstacles that we had to overcome in order to get that record out. But I think we really found our footing towards the end of that process, and that helped us get this album out in half the time. So this album took us about 3 years, and I think even through this process, we've all learned a lot, and I think, or I hope at least, album 3 won't be too far away. Because I think we've all learnt the process, and we've all kind of got into a really good rhythm of how to produce our music now.
For you, what is special about Tragédie D'amour compared to your debut album Advenai?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Advenai was written during quite a difficult time in my life. There was a lot of sort of mental health problems, and a lot of addiction issues and alcoholism, and I was sort of dealing with a lot of those things at the time. So the lyrical content was quite bleak, and I think when writing the music for that, how I was feeling at the time really came across in the music and the lyrics. So I was in quite a different frame of mind through the Advenai, through those years. With Tragédie D'amour, I was in a much different headspace. There was a lot of, over the last 3 years, there's been a lot of love in my life. I got married. My wife and I had a lovely baby girl. And so there's been, really the heights of love, becoming a father for the first time and getting married. And then there's also been, some further issues with dealing with mental health stuff. There's been sort of quite a few deaths in the family. And so it really felt like exploring those two, the sort of two extreme ends of the spectrum of, the heights of love and adoration and positivity, and then, the lowest valleys of sort of tragedy. So it felt a bit of a natural progression in terms of where I wanted to take the album lyrically. But also the thing that stood out this time around that was different from Advenai was that I was sitting in the producer's chair. So this is my first time producing. I've been tossing up whether to do it for the last, I suppose, 5 years almost. And this time around, I sort of finally bit the bullet and decided to produce the album myself. So that was probably the two main things that were different from this album compared to the last album was that I was in a different headspace, and I was now sitting in the producer's chair.
Now, this is a personal question for you, Jordan. As we know, you are the singer of Carmeria. We know about your voice because do you follow any daily rehearsal routine, like techniques, exercises, training, apart from singing in the bath, like us?
Not so much anymore. I have sort of always been in bands for the last like 14 years. I've been performing, and so I've always enjoyed being a part of lots of different bands and lots of different genres. And so for quite a while there, I was often singing, every weekend or every couple of weeks. And so that kind of taught me a lot about my voice. And then I underwent 2 years of classical vocal training in my early 20s. And I learned a lot through that time. And, I had a great mentor who taught me so much about singing in general and about my voice in particular. And all that knowledge kind of carried me through my mid to late 20s. But now it's kind of, I don't really, probably should keep up with some vocal maintenance, but really like it's more just warming up before shows now. And then I suppose really focusing on the details of my singing when I'm recording demos or something at home. But yeah, I don't really have a routine, a vocal routine that I stick to. So it's kind of just whenever I'm playing shows or recording these days.
Was it like having Emma as a bassist and backing vocals in the band? We believe she is the singer in the song "Burning Ships," and if so, she does it very great with you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Having Emma in the band is incredible. So she jumped on board just after we released at Bene. And she's such a talented musician. She plays bass, she plays guitar, she writes her own music. She has her own EP out at the moment called Lessons. Her artist name is just EM Dot, and it's a fantastic EP. She played it to me during the pre-production week for Tragédie D'amour, and it blew me away. And it was sort of like in that moment that I was like, oh, we have to have a song with M singing leads, on this album. And so Burning Ships was a result of that. And she, how that came about was I had the instrumentation planned out and everything, and I was writing vocals for it, and nothing I was coming up with was sitting with me. Like it wasn't really, I didn't feel like there was anything special about what I was coming up with. And I kind of hit this creative block with that song. And so I reached out to Em and I said, oh, look, I'm kind of struggling with the melodies for this. Do you want to have a go at it? And she spent a couple of weeks on it, recorded it, sent it back. And it just blew my mind. Like it felt perfect for that song. And so she wrote the lyrics and melodies for that song. And I think, it's certainly one of my favorite songs on the album. I think it showcases such a different side of Carmeria. And I think moving forward, the plan will definitely be to incorporate more of her vocals in future songs. Yeah.
If we are not mistaken, Carmeria was formed more than a decade ago, but the first studio album wasn't released until 2021, in the middle of pandemia. Can you tell us, Jordan, something about the history of the band, more or less?
Yeah. So the band formed, I think it was originally in 2012, and it was originally a female-fronted prog rock outfit. So completely different band to what Carmeria is now. The only original member from that time is Jerry. So they released, Jerry's the guitarist, and so they released an EP, I think in 2012 or 2013, and then broke up soon after. And then the band went on a little bit of a hiatus. There were a few members, Jerry being one of them, that wanted to continue but reinvent the band as a symphonic metal project, sort of along the lines of Camelot and Nightwish. So they had this demo that they'd put together, and I think they posted it on Facebook. And I sort of met Jerry and the old keyboard player Lisa out at some rock night or something in the city, back in like 2013 or something. And so I saw the post on Facebook with them, with this instrumental track asking if anyone wanted to record vocals or audition for this band. And I fell in love with it. It was right up my alley. I grew up listening to sort of Camelot and Nightwish and all those bands. And the opportunity to be able to sing in a band like this was just yeah, it was a dream come true, because really you don't get that many bands doing this kind of thing in this country, and so to have that opportunity, I sort of jumped on it. And this was back in the days where I was recording on a laptop, and I was using the laptop microphone, and like getting close to the laptop and singing into it as a way of doing vocal demos. And I came up with a few melody and harmony ideas, and wrote some lyrics, and I sent it to them, and they really liked it, and they, from that point wanted to be on board for the future. And so we jumped in and started writing and everything like that. And funnily enough, that song that I auditioned with is actually on our first album. It's called Enrapture. I think it's like track 4 or something? I don't know. I should brush up on my my Carmeria history. But yeah, so basically what happened then was I joined in 2014. We had a bunch of sort of lineup changes. We were kind of writing bits and pieces here and there. I was in a few other musical projects, and so we weren't really sitting in a room and working on Carmeria as a band. It was very much like sharing ideas online here and there, checking in every couple of weeks or months. Quite a slow process, but we ended up, I think, with about 5 or 6 songs over that time. And then we played our first show in 2017. Lachlan, our former drummer, and Mish, our keyboard player, jumped on board in 2018. And then, and we sort of solidified the lineup that would end up going on to releasing Advene. We've since had a change of hands with bass players. So our old bass player, Tori, left, and that's when we got Emma on board. And we parted ways with our drummer Lachlan back in, I think it was December or January. Sort of the start of the year kind of thing. And so at the moment, we've kind of just been, we've got a tour drummer that we hire for shows, and he's actually featured in the recent video clips for the album, and he's fantastic. He's a really talented young kid, and he's just super enthusiastic, and always available to help us out when we're looking to book a show. So that really is, I guess, Carmeria in a nutshell. Of course, the last 3 years were all to do with the second album, but in terms of, that time between the original iteration of the band in 2012 and when we first released our album in 2021, it really was just a series of lineup changes and life events and different musical projects getting in the way. And so, 2018 was really the year that we locked in the band as it is now. And apart from a couple of lineup changes, the ethos and personality of the band has largely remained the same. So, I mean, that's a bit of a, I suppose, a brief history without going into too much detail.
How do you evaluate the musical evolution of Carmeria since its creation about 10 years almost ago until now?
Yeah, so I think originally when I first joined the band, it was very much just strictly looking into being a symphonic metal band. And a lot of the early days were about learning to write within that genre. We were all quite young. Symphonic metal can be quite a challenging genre to write within. And so I think a lot of our time spent was just upskilling in songwriting, and I guess learning to arrange and produce and orchestrate and all that kind of stuff. And then spending 6 years on Advene, and within that genre, I think it was kind of, at least for me as a songwriter, I sort of wanted to move on from that genre, or at least branch out, and bring in the more energetic gothic rock stuff for this album. I think, as artists, you never really want to remain stagnant. I think you're always looking to push the boundaries and reinvent yourself and bring new and exciting influences into your creative process. And I think that's what we sort of did with this record. In particular, like Mish, the keyboard player, and myself are massive hymn fans. And so we wanted to bring that style of gothic rock into this record. I think that the evolution of the sound has definitely felt like a natural progression. It hasn't felt forced. I think, when we first released Advene, we were really looking at, in terms of moving forward, really trying to like create a bridge between symphonic metal and gothic rock.
Mhm.
And I think that was the aim with this album. I do have quite a strong idea of where I'd like to go for album 3, which will be different again. But yeah, I think it's really the evolution of the band and the evolution of the sound has really just come from who we've been developing as songwriters and as artists.
Mhm.
I think, yeah, it's just felt like a natural progression.
Mhm. We don't know in Europe the world of metal and rock in Australia. We want to ask you, how do you see the metal and rock is seen in Australia? Does it attract the public, or do people don't pay attention to the style of music?
Yeah, no, so the big genres in Australia are probably like on the rock side are more sort of punk and indie. They tend to get the most of the attention. And then you've also got on the metal side is the more metalcore stuff. So those are sort of the two, I guess, biggest subgenres within, the genres of metal and rock that get the most attention. And so, yeah, being a symphonic metal or a gothic rock band, there's not really a huge market for it here. Um, that said, we've definitely managed to pull people to shows, and there seems to be an interest in it. There's just not a whole overall awareness or passion for it yet, but hopefully that might change.
That's the same the same response that other bands give us, like Tentris or Terra Maze. Do you
Yeah, yeah.
do you find it difficult to compose songs in Carmeria, and what inspired you to create your songs about apart from romantic and other themes in the same?
Yeah, it's sort of it's almost like a lightning bolt. Like I often don't really, it could be something as simple as hearing a new song for the first time that really connects with me, and then I'll have a few ideas of how to, approach a song I might be thinking of writing. Occasionally, I'm like I could be doing something as simple as walking down the road, and all of a sudden I'll hear a melody.
Mm.
I might be going for a swim or even at work or, and I just get hit with these melodies or arrangements in my head. And then it's all I think about for the day until I can get home into the studio and then put it together. So yeah, inspiration for songs really can strike quite randomly for me. Um, but yeah, like, and in terms of like the lyrical content, that's where I draw from emotions and experiences the most. But in terms of music, it kind of just comes to me in terms of melodies and chords, and it can be, off the back of hearing something I really like, or even reading a book or something, or it can just be something that finds its way into my head and kind of, stays there tapping at me until I can get home to record it.
Mhm. Of all your discography, which is the song that you like the most?
Oh.
This is a hard question. I know. I know.
Um, I think at the moment, oh, probably 1,000 Winter Rains. So that was the first single off the new album.
Mhm.
That was the track I wrote back in 2022 and has largely stayed the same through the pre-production process. Like I think the only thing that changed that song since I wrote it was extending the quiet bridge and Jerry adding his own guitar solo. And that was a song that really sort of stuck with me, I think, because it was, yeah, it's a song that I'm able to, I guess, showcase my vocal style the most. So I'm able to growl, I'm able to sort of sing, I'm able to, belt, I'm able to like sing quite softly. I feel like there's a lot of emotion in that track. Lyrically, I connect to it on quite a deep level. That song's all about sort of grief and mourning. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to write. And I just, at this point in time, which could just be because it's still new in terms of being released, I think that's the song that I connect the most deeply with at the moment, if I had to, whittle it down to one song. But I am quite proud of all the songs, and I do have my own little connections with all of them. But the standout at the moment is probably A Thousand Winter Rains.
For us, especially for me, the best song of all your discography was Call for My Name. The first, Call for My Sorrow. Sorry. Call for My Sorrow.
Oh, wow.
Because when I start to hear your new album, I say, well, this is a song that connect with the public in the first
Yep.
time, and keep on mind on all the discs. For all the song like Thorns, like Immortal, and Burning Ships, because we love. Of course, you too, Jordan, but the voice of Emma is very emotional. Well, we hope in future albums we want to hear more of Emma in the other songs. Jazz is a decision of the band. This is a decision for the public. Other song, the final song, A Vision in Passing, because the duet with in the piano and you is very the best way to end a romantic disc, because yes, like Jerry with the guitar and Miska on the drum, but we want, when we heard in the first time Tragédie D'amour, we want a song with only the voice and other instruments in acoustic peak, for an example. When I heard the last song of the album, when I heard you with the piano, I say this is the very best way to end an album. If we count the first song, Call for My Sorrow, well, this is a best album, and in the middle, like Immortal or Shadow Throne.
Yeah, that's amazing, dude. And like, thanks so much for that. Like, it's really funny because when I sort of first wrote A Vision in Passing, we sort of decided then and there, and this is years ago. We decided, it's like, this is before we'd even written the rest of the album. It was like A Vision in Passing was definitely going to be the album closer. Like, that was going to be the last song on the album, no questions asked. That just felt like a closing song. And I love that you say Call for My Sorrow is your favorite track, because the best thing I've loved about, or the thing I've loved about all the feedback from this album is everyone's coming back to us saying that a different song is their favorite song. And so I think that's just been such a rewarding experience, because often with albums, I feel like when you're putting them out as an artist, there can be quite a lot of self-doubt. You might not feel like this is a completely strong album. You might think that there's strong songs and weak songs. But a lot of the feedback that we've gotten has been like, people have said that, there are songs on this album that are their favorite songs that I thought weren't all that great, And so, so hearing that feedback that everyone has a different favorite song has just been so cool. Like, it's been a really great experience.
After releasing Tragédie D'amour, what future plans are there for Carmeria, like collaborations, live recordings, tours?
Yeah, so we're actually announcing an album tour literally within the next, I think, 2 to 3 days. So that'll be happening along the east coast of Australia.
Mhm.
With another band who's just released an album. I'm not sure how much I can spoil just yet prior to the announcement, but I think that's getting announced on the 5th of September. So, so that'll be really exciting. That'll be our first tour since the Advent tour back in like 2021,
Mhm.
2022. So, yeah, so really looking forward to that. In terms of future music, we ran a crowdfunding campaign for Tragédie D'amour that ended up going really well, and part of one of the perks was a free upgrade for a mini EP. It's a mini acoustic EP that I'm sort of putting together myself, producing and mixing, and it's one new original, one cover, and one acoustic rendition of one of our previous released songs. So that'll be coming out around January. But obviously the people who contributed to the crowdfunding campaign will be getting it around November. So they get it sort of two months ahead of the release. But yeah, so the plan with that was, obviously we want to release the album, but we want to keep the ball rolling with releasing music. I think albums take so long to put together, so putting out like a mini EP to help tide people over, at least for the next year, after the initial Tragédie D'amour hype dies down, I think will be really cool. And then we're currently working on, I've developed a concept brief and have started writing demos for album 3. And the other guys are sort of starting to put together ideas as well. So currently eyeing ideally a 2026 release, for album 3, but at the same time, you can never really tell with these things because there's lots that can get in the way. Things might go really well and it might come out sooner. We just don't know, but that's kind of what we're eyeballing at the moment. So lots of work to do, but we love doing it. So
Now, Jordan, two more questions because we are running of time, not too much. With this new album, are you looking forward to touring through the world? If you had the chance to come to Europe or in Spain, which festival would you like to play at? Like Wacken in Germany, Hellfest in France, or Rock Imperium in Spain?
all of the above. Absolutely. The whole world tour thing is, I think, it's the dream of every musician, is to take their music around the world. For me personally, Wacken would be the pinnacle of that dream. That's something that I've, thought about since I was a kid, dreamt about since I was a kid. I spent hours and hours just watching videos from Wacken and, seeing all the live performances of a lot of the bands that I loved and grew up with. So yeah, I mean, that would be the ultimate dream for me. But yeah, hopefully we can get overseas soon. It's just a matter of being able to afford it, really.
And now, finally, Jordan and Carmeria, any message for your fans and audiences who have heard your new album and hope to see you soon in Australia, in America, in Europe, in all the world?
I think, we're eternally grateful for the amount of support we receive. We get so many messages and comments from people talking about our music, talking about how our music has helped them through difficult times. And it really connects with us on a deep level. We've got such a personal connection to our music, and we put a lot of heart into what we create. And so to hear that our music has helped people it's really heartwarming. And we have been blown away by the support of the people who have heard our music, particularly within the last year. There's been a big uptick in the amount of people engaging with us on social media or sharing our music, reaching out to talk to us. It's been fantastic. And so, yes, very grateful for all the fans and friends that we've made along the way.
With this, Jordan and Carmeria, we end the interview and we look forward to hearing from you shortly. We thank you again for the time and the willingness to grant us the interview, spend these hours in Australia, I mean, and we will see you soon more in the future, in a studio, in live concert, or here in the rest of the world, offering the best and romantic and gothic and symphonic, metal and rock for many, many years.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
We want to say to Jerry that in Spain we have in the north of Spain we have a lot of black roses for him and for all of you for the new album cover for the new album. If you want black roses in the north of Spain, all you want. All you want, and natural, all natural.
Beautiful. Well, hopefully we can make our way over there.
And thank you very much again, Jordan and Carmeria. And well, we want to give you the more success in your professional musical career in Australia or in all the world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for getting the interview and the opportunity. Bye, Jordan and Carmeria.
No worries. Thanks, mate. We'll talk later. Bye.